Wait on the Lord. We must wait on the Lord and learn our lesson well. In climbing, He will tell us what to do, where to go, what to say.
Channel 38, in cooperation with the Greater Chicago Sunday School Association, presents Adventures in Learning. The Bible will spring to life in this special series on archaeology. And now, here's your host on Adventures in Learning, Rose Van Reken.
Hello, and it's good to be back with you again. Do you remember a couple of weeks ago we had such an interesting program given to us by Ruby Free Gieser when she told us about the work that she and her husband did on Dothan? Well, true to her promise, Ruby is back with us again today. Ruby, it is so good to have you back.
Thank you, Rose. It's a real inspiration to be asked back.
Well, thank you, dear. We're looking forward to your slides. We know that you have brought them with you, and we're going to give this program to you, Ruby. So let's see your slides.
All right. This is Tel Dothan, located 60 miles north of Jerusalem on the main north-south highway. This is the road we go into the mound, about a quarter of a mile. Slide 2. Here we see the shepherd leading his flocks into the area of Dothan where there is a tremendous water supply. They come there every 24 hours to drink water. The mound itself is 200 feet high, but the area of occupation levels is built on a hill already 150 feet high. So there is about 50 feet of stratification there. You can see part of the areas on this side where we have dug. Over to the left is where we found the big tomb. In the early spring in March and April is a nice time to be over in the Holy Land to see the beautiful flowers that cover the hillsides far and wide. These are poppies and many of the little white flowers that you see on the hillsides. As we get closer to the Tell, looking at it from the south towards the north, the big area on top there is our dump where we have been emptying the dirt as we have dug from the south side, looking for the entranceway into the city, which is the gate. Below that are the modern houses in which we house our staff. Now we are looking at the side of the mound where we have gone down on the slopes, and there we found a series of great walls dating back to the period of Abraham. As we look over the beautiful plain, as we stand on the top of Dothan on the west side, looking west now towards the Mediterranean, we see the beautiful flat plains and the fertile fields as they have planted them, and then the acres of almond trees on the slopes of the mound. The road going to the left is the road going over to the little town of Arabi, from which most of our workmen come. We look at our south mountain, and we see it is also farmed, and the grain is in different stages of becoming ripe, and the other grain is still green. It gives a beautiful panoramic view. We call this our South Mountain, and it was always part of our exercise and recreation to climb that mountain on weekends and see the view from up there. Now back to the dig. We are looking down into the sounding we put down 30 feet, and we found no more evidence of civilization at this point on the mound. Another view after we finished our excavation going down into the bottom of the mound where the first civilization was found. That was 1,000 years before Abraham's time. On the south side of the mound, we found these beautiful walls dating back to the Abrahamic period. In front of the wall was a series of steps going down the slope, and we came to the edge of our property, as you see on the right, and we could not continue following the steps. This would be the area leading down to the water supply. Perhaps it was brought to the tell on these steps. Anyway, it was also in a gateway area, so it was an important find. Now we move higher up on the mound, and we are digging in the area of the Solomonic period, or the period of Solomon, about 1200 BC. And we find very sturdy walls, the ruins of them, and it definitely was in the period of Solomon. This is the draftman's recording of our Wall Street. Now we see the courtyard area belonging to the buildings with the heavy stones that you see in the background. These are all from the period of Solomon. You can tell that by the type of pottery. There we found a chalice upside down. This is the shape of a chalice that Solomon would have drunk out of, although his would have been of gold or silver. This is upside down, as you see, as we find it inside or in place, so we definitely knew we were in that period when we found the chalice. And I have a copy on the table here that you will see better. Then, as we moved further to the south in our excavation, we found something different. We found burials, as you see here. When we examined the burials, we found that they belonged to the people who lived on the top level, which was the Arabic period or the Crusader period. So these were either Crusaders buried, but probably were Arab, because the type of beads they had with them and the decorations. One of our workmen thought he would like to see how that skeleton compared to the normal man today, and it didn't seem to be too much different. Here is our very faithful water boys who climb this 200-foot tell to bring water up to our workmen. It is getting warm in April, and we need the water. Here is some of our equipment that we use for digging, the grass baskets we use to put our pottery in, and each one is labeled as we put the pottery from the different levels. The black baskets are made from old rubber tires, and they are used to carry the dirt away. Also, we brought over 8 American wheelbarrows to help get the dirt taken to the dump. The grass mat is there when later in the day we bring down the pottery we have found and put it out there. Here is Ara. He is a very energetic person who washes the pottery and keeps the pottery in the right baskets. He worked for the University of Chicago at Megiddo, and he really knows his job. A close-up of Ara, and he was very happy to do this work. He had a big family. This is our cook and housekeeper, Amelia. She is demonstrating here in the earlier times, the grain was ground into flour or meal by a grinding stone being pushed back and forth over another one. Amelia is a wonderful cook. She took care of us very well with our 3 meals a day, and you see what a large group we have here. We had some 35 students with us that year, and they were all up from Jerusalem. Part of them were studying in Jerusalem, while part of us were digging. And then when we would all come together, we were quite a large, happy college family. Of course, on weekends, we must get a haircut. A close-up of a scorpion. You never pick up a rock because you would find a scorpion under it, so we had to be very careful. Here is a picture of a baby burial. We found a number of these, but this particular one was of interest because it was under the corner of a large building stone. We believe it was a Canaanite building. We believe it was a child sacrifice because they did do that. Shellacking it to preserve it to bring it back to the States. Here we see it finished, ready to take. This is another view looking across the area to see what we find. To the right, we see a part of a storage area. We found a number of those. Solomon taxed his people heavily, and instead of paying with money, they paid with their produce. They would bring grain like wheat. This shows the wheat harvest today, and it is being harvested with sickles like they must have done it years ago.
Ruby, I really don't like to interrupt you, but just for a minute, could I ask you a few questions about what you have been telling us?
Really?
I was thinking about Tel Dothan again. How far did you say that Tel was north of Jerusalem?
60 miles.
60 miles. You know, for a long time, I've been wondering about something, and maybe this isn't the right place to ask you, but seeing the grain fields reminded me of the products and so forth. And I'm just wondering if Hebron was about 80 miles from Tel Dothan, wasn't it? About
Yes,
80
right,
miles?
right.
Well, how in the world did Jacob ever think of sending Joseph all that way? Do you think he really sent him 80 miles to find his brothers?
Well, I don't think Abraham knew that it was going to be 80 miles because he sent his brothers or the sons north because there's better pasture up there. And when Joseph got to where he was supposed to go, he couldn't find them. And there's always someone around to be helpful. And so one of these people asked, "For whom are you looking?" And he said, "I'm looking for my brothers. They are tending their flocks." And he said, "Oh, they went to Dothan." And so Joseph went to Dothan, and there he found his brothers. And of course, there they connived to kill him and put him in a pit.
True, but do you really think that's possible that they would drive their flocks for 80 miles?
Well, you know, the critics of today have criticized the Bible because of that very thing we're talking about. They said nobody in their right mind would send their shepherds with the sheep 80 miles for water. Well, when we were at Dothan, we would see shepherds coming at the end of the day from all directions with the little clouds of dirt as the sheep were running for their water. They're only watered once a day. And so when they were clustered around the big tank where the water was, we thought, well, we would just go down and ask from which they came. And when we asked them in Arabic, "Min wain inta?" From where are you? They answered, "Min Hebron." They're from Hebron.
You're kidding.
Well, if they could come from Hebron today, they could certainly come from Hebron in Abraham's time.
And then Jacob's, do you remember they really even today take their
yes,
flocks that long distance?
That's right, because there's always plentiful water there. Thousands of gallons of water pour out of this artesian well there at the base of Dothan.
Oh, so that's how come they built the Tel there in the first place. They
Right.
did have water.
That's why there were so many cities there, because that's a very important necessity.
Oh, and it was an artesian well.
Right.
Oh, that's really beautiful.
And it waters that whole big plain.
Oh, yes.
Beautiful. That's why it's so beautifully.
Oh, yes. Did they ever find a tunnel at Dothan?
Not yet, but we that's what we thought our steps were going down towards that area from the gate, but we ran into the other orchard that didn't belong to us.
Okay, I see. Well, I think maybe that we better go back to our slides, Ruby, but thanks a lot. That clears up something for me.
Yes, thank you. Down at the house, there is much work going on as well as on top. Here they are recording the numbers that are put on each piece that is found and the description of it and its provenience or where it was found in the area. This is our opening of a discovery of a tomb quite accidentally. We were following a wall, and in following the wall, it disappeared. And we finally came into this funnel-shaped area which led us into a tomb. This was just 4 days before the end of the expedition. Then we had many levels of pottery and of skeletons, and it has been identified now as a Canaanite tomb. Many of the large craters there are for putting food in with the dead, and you see the bones of people who have been put in there. To the left, there is a lamp, so they have light in your future and other little objects for food. They were always buried with food. Here is the backbone of another skeletal remain. Here is a skull. It is amazing that the teeth were all so perfect. There was no decaying. They ate wholesome food. They apparently didn't eat candy in those days. Here we see two more skeletal remains with the pottery. Here is still another level. We came down level after level, and at the end, we had some 3,700 objects that we took out of this tomb, the largest tomb that has ever been found. In the back, there is a crypt, and just below that is another crypt. This shows the east side of the tomb at the bottom, and that was also a burial place. There were skeletal remains still there. The remains with the pots that they always put in with the dead. Now then, the staff moved down to the tomb and did the recording down there rather than carrying everything down. As they go down level by level, the objects are recorded and put on a grid so we know exactly in which place they were found and recorded that way. Now, after we have cleared the tomb, we bring the objects down to the field house, and they will be packed and placed in boxes after they have been displayed. Here is still more of them coming down with boxes full of pottery. Now we have ended the season. We had to build a wall and a door to secure the tomb so it would not be invaded before we came back the next year. Here is Joe and his secretary recording the pottery that is being brought down, putting it down as to level and name and size. At the end of the dig, everybody must write up their own records. Each day's record is kept, and then we must put the whole picture together. So it is somewhat like a thesis that you would write at the end of the expedition as to what you have found in your area. That will be contributed and added to what others have found as we try to put the whole picture together. Here I am with all my papers, trying to get the whole thing into one. Here are others working on theirs. Now at the end, we find the objects. We have built shelves for them as they kept coming up. Here we see more of them, the small objects as they are all on display. They have to be ready for display for the head of the archaeology department to come out, and they choose what they want to take. So it is to be ready for display for the division of the pottery. Now we are packing them in boxes for going to the antiquities department and those that we will take home. These are a few of the other objects. These are the weights for loom weaving. A crater that we found in the tomb. A bowl with the dumbbell handle. It comes from the period of Elisha's time. Juglets, an import from Cyprus. Another crater, very typical of what we found in the tomb. A flask for carrying water. As we end the dig, they are celebrating. And then we have a beautiful sunset to conclude our year.
That's great, Ruby.
But I didn't feel I was...
That's great. I'm just wondering how many seasons you spent there with your husband.
9 seasons, one right after the other.
And what were those years?
From 52 to 62. It's really almost, 61 really.
I was wondering too, you chose Dothan, but I remember that you were tour leaders before that time, weren't you, to Israel?
Oh, yes.
How did that ever start?
Well, that's very interesting. We had just been to Wheaton for 2 years. We came there as on our honeymoon, and Joe had been to the Holy Land. His mother had sent him to the Holy Land when he graduated from Princeton as a graduation present.
My, how nice.
Yes, it was. And he was a real Bible student. He really appreciated that. And that's when he first saw Dothan and thought, oh, wow, what a great mound for somebody to dig sometime. And uh, so there was a tour all set up to go to the Holy Land in the year that we came there, the second year that we came there. And the director died. And in those years, not many people had been to the Holy Land, as it's been to know it well enough to be a director. And so they asked Joe if he would take this tour group all ready to go. Well, there were really only 16 in the tour, but we went and we had a wonderful time. And that was my first time. So that was the first time that I had gone, and then we had we ran tours. Then the rest of the year of up to 59, and then wasn't it?
As I
That's the
remember
year
it,
of the
as I remember it, Ruby,
39. I
yeah.
mean, and then we got caught in the war,
right.
coming back
Yeah.
in Europe.
Is it true, as I remember it, that you were getting about 100 people on your tour toward the end? And,
Oh yes.
And you must have. Well, how did you sponsor your dig? I think I'm getting at the right question.
Well,
how did you sponsor? Who gave you money?
Well, you cannot dig without a sponsor, like under an institution. We were sponsored by Wheaton College, but like all colleges, they didn't have any money to give to us, but their blessings. And so we thought, well, we would just run tours, and any profit we made from the tours, we would put into the expedition. And that's, the Lord supplied all of that. And we had, for 3 different years, we sailed out of New York with 100 people. And those people he would give lectures in the morning, and students, anybody could get college credit for attending these lectures.
That's really great. You know, he also wrote a book, didn't he?
Oh,
because
yes.
I read that book
Yes,
too.
right.
Yes.
Yes.
That's
right.
interesting. Ruby, when you were on the dig, did you wear slacks?
No, we didn't. Most women did wear slacks. The other women that were excavating, they're from England. But the Arabic culture is such that they feel that women should not wear men's clothing. And so we did not want to offend their feelings about this. So we wore culottes.
I see.
We felt that we had great cooperation with them for that. They respected us, and we respected their taking time out to go and pray 5 times a day. And they would go one by one when it was time to do that. So we had a wonderful rapport with our Arab workers, and we had, when we were running, having 30 or more students there that were supervisors, we had some 80 people digging for us, and they were all people who had lost their homes in the first invasion or influx of the Jewish people that came into their land and took their homes from them. So they were refugees.
And so they were the ones who were helping you. You said there were around 80 of those.
Yes.
To get back to the clothes just a minute, did you tell me before we started that what you are wearing is typical of what you would have worn on the dig?
Yes, it is typical, except there would have been a
culotte
culotte rather than a skirt. Right.
Well, the color might have been the same, and if you hadn't told us, we would never have known it.
Yes, I would wear a khaki skirt.
Ruby, when was the last
cork helmet too?
Oh, a helmet. Cork?
Yes. Because the heat gets really hot by April, and you need a protection for your head. So we wore cork helmets.
Cork helmets. I didn't know that. When was the last time you were at Dothan? Have you visited it?
Yes.
You have?
In 1977 was the last time I have been there, and I'm very anxious to get back there. I hope we can go soon, because, well, it's trouble conditions now, but when it settles down, I feel it's my second home.
Do the people remember you?
Oh, yes. When I go back to visit the people on the mountain from whom we rented our house, a beautiful white hand-cut stone house. I think I told about that.
No, I don't think you
carved
did.
Out
you
of
told me, but you didn't tell anybody
else. It's carved
else.
out of the the stone that is underneath, the beautiful limestone in different colors. They never build anything of wood. They call that a shack. All their homes are built of beautiful limestone. And so when I went there to visit them, we had rented that house, and they would just come and embrace me. And when I told them of Joe's going to be with the Lord, they all wept. And we have a very close rapport with those beautiful people. They're
beautiful.
very kindly and most generous and courteous. And you can't possibly go into their home without being served coffee, that wonderful Turkish coffee.
You
that
mean
you
that's
learn to
really
like.
wonderful?
We loved.
Really?
My husband did not care for coffee, but he liked Turkish coffee.
Isn't it terribly
But
thick or strong?
It's in small cups, so you don't drink big cups of it. It's very sweet and very strong.
Couldn't have used Solomon's chalice for one, could you?
No.
No.
You learn to like it,
Is
and
that
you
right?
just fit in with.
Do
the
you add
culture
anything
there.
to it, Ruby?
Nothing.
Sugar or
Oh no, it's very sweet to begin with.
Oh,
It's
is?
perfect just as is, and it comes, as I say, in the demitasse cup, so you don't have a big cup to drink.
Well, how about
But
that?
it's so hot. But they serve the tea in glasses, and it is so hot you have to hold it with one hand and then another, you know.
Oh, is that right?
But their hospitality is the greatest of any culture I have ever known or associated with.
Well, that's
we
beautiful.
love the Arabs.
Well, I certainly think we love you, Ruby. We want to thank you so much for having been with us and for having shared with us all of these things about the tell and about Dothan. And hasn't it been great to really have tied everything together that we've been learning and to have Ruby show us so many things? I really, for one, appreciate it very much, Ruby. And I'm sure that all of our listeners out there are really grateful that you came to be here with us. Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you. I feel like it's been a great treat. I have really enjoyed it.
Thanks a lot, Ruby. We really appreciate it. Goodbye. We'll see you next time.